We were under the impression that we knew everything there was to know about the future of Bitcoin in the United States. But a classified document that was just released from the White House has completely changed our minds. In reference to XRP, this is not a rumor or speculation. Rather, it is a direct executive order from former President Donald J. Trump, and it is more bullish than anything the market has ever seen before. Over the course of several years, investors have been waiting for clarity, waiting for the government to acknowledge digital assets, and now, at long last, this is finally occurring. I am currently viewing a document that has unambiguous orders from the White House to the United States Treasury. These directives tell the Treasury to begin integrating Ripple's blockchain technology for the settlement of government bonds and other high-value financial instruments. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has spent years trying to classify XRP in ways that have limited its use and hampered its growth. This is a major event since it formally recognizes XRP as a commodity, circumventing the SEC totally. The ramifications are huge and significant. One of the most important executive branches in the United States of America has now made it mandatory for official government operations to make use of a digital asset. No, this is not some kind of pilot experiment or test on a smaller scale. This is a complete incorporation into the cornerstone of the American financial system. What are the implications? ACE or Federal Reserve? For all intents and purposes, the Federal Reserve is no longer in a position to mandate the rate of adoption of digital assets in government operations or the parameters of such adoption. It is made abundantly clear in the executive order that Ripple's technology must be utilized, and the Federal Reserve is mandated to meet this need. Over the course of several decades, one of the unseen factors that has been influencing financial policy is the lengthy conflict that has existed between the White House and the deep state. Today, XRP emerges as the undisputed victor in that conflict. We are at a pivotal juncture in global history. Think about the breadth of this situation. The network effect will begin to take impact immediately once the United States Treasury begins to settle bonds using XRP. The ability to adapt will be necessary for global institutions, payment processors, and banks in order to maintain their competitive edge. It is no longer the case that Ripple's ledger is merely a tool for private transactions. Rather, it is now fundamentally integrated into the framework of national finance. A tsunami of oportunidades se creada resulta de from the perspective of then investor. As soon as the executive order is put into effect, the value models that experts have been employing for XRP will become obsolete. We are discussing situations in which a price of $1,000 per XRP becomes not only feasible but also probable, particularly if the use of XRP continues to increase and confidence in the cryptocurrency increases on a global scale. A discussion on the reasons why this price change is unavoidable is in order. The executive order makes it clear that the Treasury Department is required to make use of the speed, scalability, and low transaction costs offered by XRP in order to modernize the financial systems of the government. This indicates that Ripple's ledger will be undergoing a capital movement of billions of dollars, which will result in increased liquidity, stability, and visibility for XRP in markets all around the world. Additionally, this integration sends a message to investors and governments around the world that the United States is formally supporting a digital asset when it is integrated. Such a thing has never occurred in the past. Up until this point, digital assets have been viewed with apprehension, regulatory ambiguity, and market distrust. Today, those hurdles have been removed. International finance will pay attention. Companies, hedge funds, and sovereign wealth funds will view the usage of XRP by the United States government as a confirmation of both the technology and the currency itself. Now let's talk about the SEC, which is the most obvious target in the room. For a number of years, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has been engaged in what many people have referred to as a campaign against XRP, with the goal of limiting its utilization and undermining investor confidence. This executive order entirely circumvents the power that the SEC possesses with regard to XRP. As a result of this, the most major regulatory concern that XRP has ever faced is eliminated, as it is expressly recognized as a commodity rather than a security. The ramifications are huge and significant. It is not just that this removes the legal obstacles, but it also sends a message to all of the financial institutions in the United States that they may embrace XRP with complete confidence without worrying about regulatory punishment. Take into consideration the impact that this would have on every industry, including banking, payments, remittances, and even defense contracting. This is not a hypothetical situation, it is actually taking place right now. The world has never witnessed a digital asset that is backed by the executive arm of the United States government. Through the implementation of this executive order, a precedent is established for future acts taken by the administration, and XRP is positioned to become the digital currency of choice for significant government operations. XRP is going to undergo a lightning-fast transition from a speculative asset to a fundamental financial instrument, and investors, institutions, and even regular users are going to be witnesses to this metamorphosis. The rate at which this is happening is the fastest it has ever been. Simply making the announcement will cause a significant amount of market activity. Those who use XRP at an early stage will experience enormous profits. But let's not forget to take into account the technology that underpins this choice. The ledger that Ripple uses provides unparalleled levels of speed, transparency, and efficiency in comparison to the infrastructure that is used by traditional banks. It used to take days for international payments to settle, but now it only takes a few seconds. It is not just a revolution in the financial sector, but also a leap forward in technological development. Whenever the United States Treasury begins a bond settlement on XRP, there is an increase in the level of confidence in the network, there is an increase in the amount of liquidity, and the value of XRP continues to increase. From a macroeconomic point of view, this integration has the potential to have an impact on global currency markets, to restructure international trade, and to speed up the adoption of blockchain technology all over the world. At this point, it is essential to be aware that this executive order is classified, which indicates that the White House intends for this material to be kept under wraps. Because of this, I strongly encourage viewers to watch, take in, and remember this information as soon as possible. The phenomenon that we are currently observing is a paradigm shift. A financial system that is more efficient, transparent, and internationally competitive is being bypassed by executive power in favor of a more efficient, transparent, and globally competitive financial system. The old guard, the traditional banks, the legacy systems, and the regulatory bodies that have controlled the flow of capital for decades are being bypassed. XRP is the driving force behind everything that is going on. There is more to it than merely making forecasts about prices, despite the fact that the possibility of $1,000 per XRP is extremely real. The restructuring of the structure of finance itself is the focus of this effort. In the process of putting this order into effect, the narrative surrounding XRP shifts from one of speculation to one of institutional utility. XRP will begin to be recognized by the world as a tool rather than only a token. More financial institutions will begin to integrate Ripple's ledger, which will result in an increase in liquidity, a decrease in volatility, and an increase in confidence that will, in all honesty, soar. It is anticipated that worldwide remittances will become more effective, that payments made across international borders will become more expedient, and that XRP will be positioned as a de facto global reserve digital asset. The magnitude of this adoption rate is, to put it simply, unprecedented. When several systems, including those of the government, corporations, and financial markets, are dependent on a single ledger, that ledger ends up becoming indispensable. In this direction, XRP is heading in the right direction. In the eyes of an investor, this is the ideal situation that might possibly occur. Those who are early adopters are about to experience history. The perfect storm for the creation of large amounts of value is the combination of executive support, the ability to circumvent legislative impediments, technological